Well, I mean, the obvious question is it Lee who's on the phone with Dominic Casey?
As far as I know, and as far as my client's concerned, it's not him on the phone. Yeah, let me make sure mine's on vibrate.
Do you think this is going to get this crazy? It just doesn't
No.
stop. It doesn't stop.
I thought it'd be done by now, actually.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, well, I mean, the obvious question is it Lee who's on the phone with Dominic Casey?
As far as I know, and as far as my client's concerned, it's not him on the phone on November 15th, 2008. He had very limited contact. My client had very limited contact with Mr. Casey. Mr. Casey actually worked for Cindy and George Anthony. He was their private investigator, and he worked more or less exclusively for them.
We have a picture, in fact, we were the ones who shot it together. He was the one who shot it, of Dominic Casey leaving the jail with Lee. And at the time, I didn't know who he was. He had a badge, and I thought maybe he was retired law enforcement or something. I mean, I had no idea who he was, but he was walking with Lee. So, I mean, obviously they rode together in a car together. I mean...
At some point they probably did, but do you know when that was?
We could find... Do you know the date?
I don't know the exact date, but
it was when she was arrested. It was the day that she was going to meet with her person at the jail for her weekly visit, and then they arrested her right then.
Gotcha.
For something. I forget what it was at that point. And they just took her, she walked right out of that building and then went right to the jail and got arrested.
Gotcha.
So it was that day, because I think Dominic and Lee had brought her to the jail.
All right, so that would have been October.
It would have had to have been before October 14th at some point. Okay. Oh, yeah, was that the last time?
That was the last time. That was when she was arrested.
Yes.
No, it wasn't the last time. She bonded out again because then, the day she was indicted, she was out, remember? She was out with Baez having a news conference just hours before, crying, and then all of a sudden she went back in. So it was the, who knows, second or third time she was arrested, but it was, then she got back out again. But at any rate, I think she had to spend overnight, at least overnight that night, so they brought her and then they just left together. So, I mean, I don't know how limited that is. I mean, are you surprised if they spent all day together that day? I mean, is that limited contact?
I think that's pretty limited contact. Like I said, from the beginning, my client has always assumed, up until and including up until the actual identification of Kaylee's remains, my client was always, convinced that this was a missing persons case, that Kaylee would in fact turn up alive, and was hopeful that she would turn alive.
Okay, I mean, I don't mean to grill you about this because you're his lawyer, but that's not what he was indicating when he was first investigating and when he was first talking to investigators. I mean...
Well, and when he was talking to investigators were asking him, well, what if, and they were speculating.
No, I heard the whole conversation, and basically he kept talking about the car and that Casey would never drive around. It didn't make sense to him because the car smelled so bad. He couldn't imagine Casey ever driving around with her own daughter in that car smelling the way it did. I mean, they weren't baiting him. He was offering a lot of information.
No, he certainly was, but he never said once that Casey was responsible for Kaylee's death, nor did he ever, I don't think, as far as I've seen, any definitive, where he acts definitively, does he believe that Kaylee is alive or dead. He does not answer that he believes that she is dead.
Right. I think that's true, but I don't think he ever said he thought she was alive either. At that time.
Well, I can tell you in speaking with my client, that's what his belief was.
Told you. That's what he's told you.
Yeah, that's what he's told me what his belief was.
Okay. I mean, the records will show who Dominic Casey was talking to, so eventually we'll all find out. I don't know when that is. But, I mean, what if it turns out that it was him on the phone? Are you prepared to represent him in that situation?
Certainly. That's what I'm hired for, is in that situation, if in fact there was some sort of subterfuge or aiding and abetting, tampering with evidence, I'm perfectly capable and prepared to defend that charge if possible, if necessary.
I mean, how do you defend the public? And again, we're speculating because we don't know. But if it turns out that he's the one on the phone, well, let me ask you this too before I go on with the next question. Could it be somebody that Lee talked to, who was an emissary, if you will, that passed the information along to Dominic to protect Lee from direct? I mean, everybody knows there would be a phone record, so
sure,
people wouldn't be that stupid to, hopefully. Or I don't know if that's hopefully or not, but you would think that people wouldn't be that stupid if they wanted to protect themselves to make a phone call like that. So could it be, what if it turns out to be somebody, let me ask it this way, could it be somebody who Lee spoke with who then went to Dominic Casey and provided information.
Well, in the realm of complete and total speculation, it could have been anyone that was on the phone. Keep in mind, as far as we know, the remains were not found at that time, as far as we know. So at this point, we don't know who was on the phone with Dominic Casey. It could have been any person, really, and it could have been at anyone's request. And obviously, as you said, the phone records are going to bear that out as to who actually contacted Mr. Casey, and law enforcement will probably be interested in speaking with that particular person, whether it be my client or anybody.
How worried are you that it was your client?
I'm not worried at all. I believe that my client did not commit any crime and that he was not in contact with Dominic Casey, and believe that Kaylee's remains were actually in that site. I've discussed this at length with Mr. Anthony, and he has indicated that despite other reports, that area was never a teenage hangout area. In fact, it was across the street. The teenagers, when he was a teenager, it was actually an area closer to the middle school,
right,
where they went to
at the
school,
end of the road down that
which was much farther away from that area, which was in fact private property, and was also somewhat fenced in and inaccessible. So it's really not a place where teenagers would hang out, as far as he remembers.
Which is why Dominic Casey's explanation to me makes no sense, by the way. But because I was actually in that area in August, at the end of the road where it was the teen hangout, getting shots of it because of the tip that came from
Sure.
my friend. So I mean, I know that was the area where the tip came, not where it was actually found.